Alright, let's dive into this because it's a story that's got a bit of everything: politics, media, and a healthy dose of drama. So, Rosie O'Donnell is set to guest host Jimmy Kimmel Live later this month, and naturally, the conversation around it has already gotten spicy. Here's the deal. During a recent podcast with Kara Swisher, Rosie made it crystal clear that she's not losing sleep over the FCC or its chairman, Brendan Carr. And honestly, I think that's a pretty bold stance, especially given the current climate. What makes this really interesting is the context. The FCC has been in the spotlight lately, particularly after going after The View, and even threatening Jimmy Kimmel Live over Kimmel's comments about Charlie Kirk. Personally, I think this whole situation highlights a bigger tension in media right now, the tug-of-war between free speech and regulatory oversight. But Rosie? She's brushing it off like it's no big deal. When Swisher asked if she was worried about the FCC coming after her, Rosie's response was basically, "What are they gonna do?" I mean, that's a level of confidence I can't help but admire. Or maybe it's just her way of saying she's not giving them the satisfaction of getting under her skin. In my opinion, what's most fascinating here is the power dynamic at play. The FCC, under Carr's leadership, has been pretty aggressive in its approach to regulating content. But Rosie's attitude seems to be, "I'm not playing by your rules." And that's a stance that's both risky and refreshing. It's like she's calling their bluff, which raises a deeper question: how much actual power does the FCC have in today's media landscape? Especially when someone like Rosie, who's no stranger to controversy, just doesn't seem to care. Now let's talk about the parody situation. Rosie wanted to perform a Trump-themed Wizard of Oz parody on the show, but ABC shut it down, citing political content concerns. Here's where things get tricky. On one hand, networks have to navigate copyright and political sensitivities. On the other hand, as Rosie pointed out, parodies were a staple of her own show back in the day. What this really suggests is that the line between what's acceptable and what's not is blurrier than ever. And it's not just about the FCC, it's about networks self-censoring to avoid backlash. Personally, I think that's a bigger issue than we often acknowledge. If you take a step back and think about it, this whole situation is a microcosm of the broader media wars happening right now. You've got the FCC trying to assert its authority, networks trying to play it safe, and personalities like Rosie pushing boundaries. What many people don't realize is that these battles aren't just about individual shows or comments, they're about who gets to control the narrative. And in that sense, Rosie's defiance feels like more than just a personal stance. It's a statement about the kind of media landscape we want to live in. One thing that immediately stands out is Brendan Carr's role in all this. He's been pretty vocal about wanting local affiliates to push back against national programmers like Disney. In an interview, he said he has no regrets about the Kimmel saga, and actually wants to see more of that kind of pushback. From my perspective, that's a pretty significant shift in how the FCC sees its role. It's not just about regulating content, it's about reshaping the entire media ecosystem. And whether you agree with him or not, that's a big deal. So where does this leave us? Rosie's guest hosting gig is going to be one to watch, not just for the laughs but for what it says about the state of media today. Personally, I think her approach, dismissing the FCC and pushing boundaries, is both a risk and a statement. It's a reminder that in a world where everyone's trying to play it safe, there's still room for someone to say, "I'm not playing by your rules." And honestly, I'm here for it. What this really suggests is that the battle over free speech and regulation is far from over. And as viewers, we're all going to have to decide where we stand. So what do you think? Is Rosie's defiance a necessary pushback, or is she playing with fire? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Because if there's one thing this story proves, it's that media is never just about the headlines, it's about the bigger questions they force us to ask.